Good day, everyone. Ordinary Average Guy here, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Anthropos by CIVIVI. It's a kind of a newer knife they have out. It's one of their latest offerings. It's part of a three-part series called the Simple series, which they're doing with knife designer Elijah Isham. First off, I just want to say when you get this knife, and this is a really cool touch that some knife companies are doing. You get a nice little carrying case for it, which is awesome. I think more companies should do that, especially if you're paying more. This is a $80 knife, 70 $80 knife, and they do include this cool pouch. It's got this nice material on the inside of it, sort of this woolly sort of material, and then they include a nice little cleaning cloth as well for it. So I'd just like to say that's a great touch. I really appreciate when knife companies do that, and I think more knife companies should get on board with that. So, like I said, this is an Elijah Isham design. This is by CIVIVI. So, CIVIVI is the budget brand of Wii, sort of like Kershaw to ZT, or that kind of thing. Or like Bird to Spyderco. You know what I mean? Like, so it's their budget brand. So it's they dialed down the materials a bit. They use kind of standard sort of D2 and 9CR. 14 MOV, that kind of thing, instead of, the M390 and S35VN and stuff like that the Wii uses. So, yeah, that's sort of CIVIVI's deal. One thing I really liked about this knife when I got it, and I noticed there's not a whole lot of branding going on this knife. You got your CIVIVI logo right there on the pivot. And you got Isham's little logo, which is pretty cool because if anybody's seen him, that's kind of how he looks. He's got a little mustache and glasses, and that's kind of his cool little logo. And then the only other kind of graphic on here is this. It's sort of hard to see. Let me see if I can get it. See it right there? That is the blade steel right there, right on the flipper tab. So that's really all the branding that's going on this knife. So there's not a whole lot of stuff on the blade, and I think that's a pretty cool touch. So this overall length on this thing's 7.5 inches. So it's not a small knife. 3.25 inch blade, which is most CIVIVI knives I've seen. I think there's only one that's under 3.25 inches. Most of them are 3.25 to 3.75 inches long. So if you're into smaller knives, CIVIVI doesn't really offer anything in that sort of smaller range. This, like I said, it's a D2 blade. D2 steel, which CIVIVI is using a lot of lately. It's a Chinese D2, which is sort of a controversial steel. I've never had any problems with it. I have found it a little hard to get that really nice fine edge on it, but I do own several D2 knives with Chinese D2 steel, but it's still D2. I think you're always going to get complaints from people about blade steel, so it's like I said, it's an $80 knife. It's on stainless steel bearings. You got a G10 handle with a carbon fiber laminate, deep carry pocket clip for left or right hand tip up carry. So it is an ambidextrous knife, as most of you guys know that watch my videos. I am a lefty, so that's something that I look for in a knife. Excuse me. So I've had my eye on Elijah Isham knives for a while. He makes some really crazy stuff. Like he makes some knives. What are they called? The Arrakis and the Eschaton. And he makes a ton of others, but those are two that he makes with Wii that just look absolutely insane. They look like a couple, something a Klingon would carry, or they're just these sort of alien-looking knives, and they're just something different. He made a knife earlier in the year, came out earlier in 2019. It was called the Pleroma by Wii, and I really, really wanted to buy that knife, but I had to stop myself because I promised myself I'm not going to buy any more knives that are right-hand only carry. I will make, obviously, I'll definitely do it if I have to, but I think that for $300, I'm not going to spend that kind of money on a knife that I can only carry right-handed. So, but like I said, this is a ambi knife, which is cool, and us lefties, southpaws, always are thankful for that. So they call this blade shape a drop point. It's sort of a funky looking drop point, and kind of. This is definitely a very simple design for Elijah Isham. He tends to have he tends to put a lot of openings in his blades. cutouts in his blades, and all that they really have on this one is this little triangle right here. But this is definitely like I said, this is part of a 3-part series that he's doing with them. It's called the Simple series. I think this week they're releasing the second one. I don't recall the name of it, but it's probably going to be something strange because that's like most of his knives are named something very odd. The ergos on this thing are pretty good. It's kind of screaming for some jimping up here. I don't know if they didn't do it because they didn't want to weaken this area here, but maybe even some jimping up here would have been nice. It's got a full flat grind. It does come pretty sharp out of the box. Everybody, like I always say, the first thing I look at is how even the bevel is, the sharpened bevel, and they did a good job on this one. It came pretty even and it came very sharp. So, that's a good thing. Like I said, the ergos though are good on this thing. It's got this deep kind of finger, whatever you call it, a choil, I guess, right here on the handle. I always think of a choil being kind of further up, but sort of like maybe the sliver axe has, and it feels pretty good in hand. It definitely, it feels like it's a good stop there. And if you do need to choke up, there is this little choil right here which you can choke up on as well. And it does feel pretty good in hand. It fills the hand out. It's pretty ergonomic, and they did a good job with that. One thing that Isham does a really good job of is making his flipper tabs sort of unobtrusive, and just like you can see with this one here. So it's a bolt, like I said, it's a ball bearing pivot system, and it's sort of one of these basic pivot systems where the pin goes through the blade, and there's just 2 stops, one at the bottom here, and then one at the top. So there's no internal stop pins. The stop pin's actually in the blade here. So when you open it, obviously the stop pin swings around and stops it right there, which is kind of cool because it's still an open design where you can see it, but it is covered up by this G10 laminate here. The action on it's pretty good too, with this kind of strange little flipper tab. There is really only one. I guess you can do the push button method on it, but it works really well as a pull down flipper. So that's something that I think Isham does on a lot of his designs, where he'll put the flipper tab sort of facing up. So when it's in your pocket, it's not like, like the Modus, this huge pocket, this thing just scraping at your phone or at your wallet in your pocket. So, I think that's a really cool part of the design. It is a full stainless steel liners, skeletonized. It only weighs about 3.3 ounces, somewhere right in there. But as you can see, the liners are skeletonized stainless steel with a liner lock. Liner locks up nicely, about 50%. And there's absolutely no liner lock stick at all on it. It's got a G10 backspacer. Yeah, G10 backspacer. So and overall, guys, I like the shape of this blade. It's it's sort of different than anything that they're doing with their other knives at CIVIVI, and I think it's a nice shape. The new one that he's coming out with, the next part of the Simple series, it's a much different blade shape. It sort of looks a little bit more like the Modus here. But still, it definitely looks very, it has Elijah Isham's stamp all over it. So yeah, and look, guys, there's no so if you're into lanyards, there is no lanyard hole on this one. So, and I think that works well because of the way this is shaped. I just think that you would have had to put the clip down further, and I don't think this is really a knife that lends itself to a lanyard. I really don't. But overall, guys, it's a cool looking knife. I like what Isham does. I've been a fan of his, and I've been admiring him from afar, and I'm glad I got this to check it out. But there are some things on this that I really didn't like. Let's start with the clip. So the clip on this, the pocket clip, they didn't flush mount the screws on it, as you can see. See them right there? So they do stick up. So you'll actually feel it when you put it in your pocket. It'll actually right over those two screws when you go to put it in your pocket. And, and they maybe if they'd have flush mounted the clip as well, instead of just laying it on top. Not a huge deal, but just something to think about. They do have this hole right here, this triangular hole, which I'm assuming is for an opening hole. And it's sort of a pain in the ass. I don't know why they put it up so close to the pivot here, but what happens is you go to open it and then your finger hits this corner here and actually pinches it down into that corner. You can do it. It's definitely possible to do. But if they'd have just moved this hole, just a couple millimeters, I mean, even just like 4 or 5 mil to the, down a little further into this hole, and it would have been a much more useful opening hole. So I don't understand that. I think they could have done a better job on that. Chinese D2 guys, I've been hearing a lot of complaints about it. I don't know how to feel about it. D2 is a steel. It's got great edge retention. It's kind of a pain in the ass to sharpen, but it's one drawback. And what makes it a budget steel is the fact that it's not very corrosion resistant. I've never had a problem with D2 corroding, but obviously it is an issue. It's definitely something to think about when you're purchasing a knife with Chinese D2 or any type of D2 at that matter. So, that's just something to think about as well. Now, I say you would never take this knife camping for the next reason I'm going to talk about. These handles are very slick. They're not grippy at all. I just don't see a situation where that would matter. Like, I'm not going to be taking this, like, I'm not going to be working on the underside of a car and, you know what I mean? Like, just have oily hands and be using this knife. This is more of a kind of a showy knife, but at the same time, it's very slippery. There's zero grip on this handle. As you'll notice when you get it, there's zero texture. It's just completely textureless. So, that's something to think about. The finger choil too, guys, it does work. You can get your finger up there, but it's dangerously close to that little sharpen point. There's no sort of buffer between your finger and this little nick right here. So I could see myself very easily not thinking about it, putting my finger down on there and slicing it open, which I have done before with certain finger choils. I don't know the fix to that. Maybe making this just a little bit deeper and having a little bit more of a flattened bit right there. But I think that would affect the sharpening choil on this thing, or the use of this as a sharpening choil. So, which they did hit very well, by the way, on this blade. Like I said, they did a very good job of sharpening this thing. The last thing I wanted to talk about was this flipper tab. So it's a cool little flipper tab when it opens. Opening it, it's nice in pocket. Like, it's a good flipper tab when you're carrying it in pocket. But it's also when you open it, it tucks in back behind here and is out of the way. The one issue that I found with it is closing it. Now, I'm a lefty, so I actually, it doesn't matter which hand I use to close it. The tab will actually, as you can see, it'll hit your thumb on the way down. So you have to actually move it out of the way before you start closing, which isn't a big deal because you have to move it anyway when you close it. But it's that little step right there when you're, when you're first closing. It's that little step right there that you're going to pinch your finger sometimes. And it's just one thing to think about. Now, overall, I like this knife. I like the look of it. Elijah Isham, I think, is just doing fantastic things. He's opening up a whole new world of knife design. And I really like it. Now, this Ranger knife for me is something, a 3.5 inch, 3.25 inch blade is something I would use camping. Like, I like smaller knives for my EDC. So this is something, and I just can't see myself taking this knife camping or doing anything outdoorsy with this. It's just not made for that. I mean, I'm sure you could do it with any knife, but it's just, it's kind of got this blue kind of texture, and then this textureless G10 laminate. And see these corners right here, guys? These corners just weren't very well done. And you can see them right here. The first thing I noticed when I put them in my pocket is they snagged like my, the material of my pants, and, I had little bits of lint in there from where these corners are. It's because they just didn't do a good job of finishing those corners right there. And I don't know if that could create an issue where these actually start peeling up. It kind of feels like it, but I don't know how to apply this knife into my everyday life. It's for $80. You can get a Spyderco Endura, which is one of my favorite camping knives on the market for about the same price. For $20 more, you can get an Iona by Giant Mouse M390. great knife with just a great, great handle, great grippy handle. For literally $30 less, you can get, a steel wheel Modus or a cut jack, which have just as good of an action as this does running on phosphor bronze washers. And I don't need to talk about, steel wheel cut jacks or Modus, and, everybody knows about them. But if you want something, like obviously one of the drawbacks of this knife is the huge bloody flipper tab they have on these. But if you're looking for something and you're one of those guys who's out there and you're looking at CIVIVI and you're not quite sure because they're all the knives kind of look the same, and this one kind of screams out to you, then and you don't mind carrying around a bigger knife in your EDC, then CIVIVI does a good job. I mean, for $80, the fit and finish on this thing's fantastic. Stainless steel bearings. A great blade steel. I think D2 is a solid steel. And, a really cool little unobtrusive flipper tab. And it does carry quite well in the pocket. Like when it sits in your pocket, it carries quite well, and you really only see about that much sticking up. So if you're looking for, you wanted to buy a CIVIVI, you like Wii, but you wanted to, you obviously don't want to spend $300 on a knife. I like this knife. I just I can't see a situation of where I would carry this knife every day. So, if you can see yourself doing that, you like carrying around a 7-inch knife, with you, then hey, this is a cool brand. Isham's a great knife designer. It's not a super, it's not like one of his super crazy designs, and it's actually a really useful blade with that full flat grind. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video and all my other videos if you've watched them. I definitely next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to review the Swiss Army, this Victorinox Spirit, which is their plier-based multi-tool, sort of in the same size range as the Wave. And I'm going to review 2 of them. And at the end of it, I'm going to run a contest, and I'm going to give away one of the Spirits. And they're worth like, I don't know, 80 to $100, somewhere in there. So really cool, guys. I hope that you like my videos. If you do subscribe to me, please like my videos and subscribe if you like them. Follow me on Instagram at Ordinary Average Guy Knives. And thank you so much for watching this. And hopefully you watch my next video. Thanks, guys.